Governor Matawale swears in members of the State Executive Council. The Zamfara State Council of Chiefs kicks against the redeployment of the State Commissioner of Police CP Usman Nagogo. Senate passes 2020 budget. On business, Senate wants fuel supply back to filling stations at Nigerian border towns. On the international scene, President Buhari says his administration is preparing for more challenges from desert encroachment. Welcome to Standard Voice Television News. I am Musa Joy Onyoza, and reading with me today is
Samira Ibrahim. Thank you for joining us.
Now the news in full. Governor Bello Mohammed Matawale of Zamfara State has on Thursday sworn in 19 new commissioners and 28 special advisors as members of his first cabinet since he assumed office on May 29 this year. While taking their oath of office, Governor Matawale said the new appointees were selected in recognition of the long years of experience through the various public and private positions they held without recourse to their political affiliation in fulfillment of his promise for all-inclusive government. He said they are therefore collectively ambassadors of this administration who are expected to educate the public about the mission as well as putting hands together to ensure the success of the administration. He said the new cabinet members will be on a 3-month probation during which they are expected to ensure maximum output in their performances, as there will be a quarterly review of their performances to measure their capability and efficiency, where any form of laxity will not be entertained, and express that they hope they will live above board in order to move the state forward. The governor also charged members of the general public to allow the new government functionaries to operate and render their contributions to the development of the state, and not to distract them from their official responsibilities through unofficial visits and unnecessary demand, noting that the state government is putting in place measures to guard against loitering within the premises of government offices. The secretary to the state government and the head of service are to ensure that government offices are adequately secured for public officials to discharge their functions as expected without any form of molestation or harassment. To the new head of service, the governor said he has the more significant challenge of providing guidance to the entire civil service for higher productivity and efficiency, as he is widely known for his vast experience, hard work, and integrity. He said he expects him to deploy those good qualities to bear on the challenging responsibility as head of civil service, calling on him to devise all mechanisms to ensure that our civil servants attain high levels of productivity and quality in service delivery.
I wish to assure you that we will do our best to justify the confidence given us in us, collectively and individually. You will find us readily available at all times to be with you in all activities, in all your ambitions and missions of moving Zamfara State forward. We will not let you now, we will not let you down. And we request for all and sundry, most especially the people of Zamfara State, to understand the situation, to pray for us, so that together we move this step forward.
As for the newly appointed permanent secretary, Governor Matawale urged him to bear in his mind that his appointment is based on the recognition of his hard work and therefore expect him to work even harder to justify the confidence reposed on him. Governor Matawale charged the state civil servant as well as the people of the state to continue to support the new appointees with prayers, advices, and cooperation for the success of the administration and for more dividends of democracy to come to the state and for the administration to continue to secure people's lives and properties.
The witness today event is starting in the ceremony of new commissioners, special advisors, head of service, and Let me start by congratulating the just sworn commissioners and special advisors for your appointment. You shall bear in mind that yours is a call to service. You have a great chance of deploying your talent and experience to achieve our mission of building a more secure and prosperous state. As for the representatives of your various community, you are expected to engage your people in all manners of public interest with a view to ensuring government policies and programs reflect the collective interest and desire of our people. With the newly sworn in head of service, we are the most significant challenge of providing a guidance to the entire civil service for higher productivity and efficiency. You are widely known for your vast experience, hard work and integrity. I expect you to possess good quality to bear when you are challenging responsibility as head of service. I want you to devise all mechanisms to ensure that our civil servants attain a higher level of productivity and quality in service delivery. As for the new appointment, permanent secretary, you shall bear in mind that your appointment is based on the recognition of your hard work. You are therefore expected to work even harder to justify the confidence and trust in you.
The Zamfara State Council of Chiefs on Thursday called on the Inspector General of Police to ignore demands by individuals or groups for the deployment of the State Commissioner of Police, CP Usman Nagogo, in the interest of peace. The council said allowing the police commissioner to continue with the good work he has started in the state will go a long way in sustaining the relative peace being enjoyed in the state. In a press conference by the council's chairman, who is also the Emir of Zamfara Anka, Alhaji Attahir Muhammad Ahmad, said information reaching it indicated that there were moves by some politicians to effect the redeployment of the State Commissioner of Police. The Emir said the Council of Chiefs was aware of the moves by some unpatriotic politicians who embarked in some moves in their efforts to entice the Inspector General of Police to direct the immediate transfer of the Commissioner of Police. The Emir said if allowed to succeed, the peace initiative embarked by the present administration for the total restoration of peace and reconciliation, which was actively being championed by the Commissioner of Police, may be derailed, causing a return to massless killings, kidnappings and cultural rustling in the state. The royal father, who described the deployment of the CP Usman Nagogo back to Zamfara State as CP as a great success, especially for Governor Matawale's administration that had embarked upon crusades to ensure total restoration of peace through dialogue with bandits and kidnappers. He said the active participation of CP Nagogo in the battle against banditry and other heinous crimes in Zamfara in the year 2016, when he served as Deputy Commissioner of Police, has tremendously earned him formidable knowledge to, within the shortest possible time, help to return law and order in the state. The Emir further claimed that before the deployment of Nagogo, the state was ungovernable as there was nowhere in the state where legitimate businesses could be run, a deployment which, according to him, had compelled thousands of people to flee out of the state. Reacting to the warning given to the Inspector General of Police by the State Council of Chiefs, the state chapter of the APC urged the royal fathers to respect themselves by staying out of politics, to play neutrality between and or among politicians in the state. The party accused the Council of Chiefs of being biased and unfair to APC members in the state by siding the APC-led government simply because it holds power.
The Zamfara State Executive Governor Bello Mohammed Matawale has declared the state government conclusion of adequate provisions meant for free maternal services and free treatment for children under the age of 5 across the 14 local government areas of the state. The governor, who was represented by the secretary to the state government, Alhaji Bala Bello Maru, made the declaration while flagging off the Maternal Newborn Child Health Week at Gusau Emirate Council. Governor Matawale said his administration has made significant strides towards getting to the 350 target of maternal death per 100,000 Millennium Development Goals and onset of Sustainable Development Goals. He said the government is currently providing free maternal services, free treatment of children under 5, and has scaled up immunization coverage. The governor explained that there are deliberate efforts to strengthen the primary health care under roof that include infrastructure and enhancing the capacity of health care providers to deal effectively with maternal, neonatal, and child survival challenges at all levels, as MNCH Health Week campaign was inspired by the realization that the causes of maternal and child death are largely preventable. He said it is also gratifying to note that the 14 local government councils of the state have so far undertaken targeted actions to deliver on our commitments. The flag off marked the commencement of a determined and sustained effort to address the maternal and child mobility and mortality in Zamfara State.
Following accusations and counter-accusations between former governor of Zamfara State Abdulaziz Yari and the incumbent governor Matawale over insecurity, a former lawmaker, Senator Tijjani Yahaya Kaura, has waded into the matter and absolved Yari of all alleged security breaches. In various interviews he granted to newsmen in Abuja, including a television program, This is Nigeria, by Thunderbird, Senator Tijjani Yahaya Kaura described what is happening in Zamfara today as unfortunate.
Senator Tijjani Yahaya Kaura, who represented Zamfara North Central Zone in the 8th Senate, was also the chairman, Senate Committee on Federal Character Commission, spoke on the former lawmaker, said what is happening in Zamfara State today, especially the current leadership of the state, is very unfortunate, adding that it was not what was expected of the current governor of the state, particularly when it comes to the issue of arresting people here and there. Senator Tijjani Kaura noted with satisfaction that there was no reaction whatsoever in terms of demonstration of lawlessness from any member of the party when the Supreme Court judgment was passed. He said members of the APC in the state won their elections 100%, which comprises the governor, the 3 senators, the 7 members of the House of Reps, the 24 members of the House of Assembly. They won the election hands down, even though they were only allowed to participate in the election on the eve of the election day. Governor Wali has served 8 years, and there is no doubt about it that he was done excellently well in terms of serving his people. He said nobody, not even the current governor, will denounce what Abdulaziz did in Zamfara in terms of putting structures in place and what is expected the current governor to.
With what is happening in Zamfara today, especially by the current leadership in the state, it is unfortunate that this is not what is expected of the current governor of the state, in terms particularly when it comes to the issue of arresting people here and there. I want to go back to the Supreme Court judgment.
Okay.
The people of APC in Zamfara State are so law-abiding that when that judgment was passed, at the surprise of everybody, there was no reaction whatsoever in terms of demonstration of lawlessness from any part of the state, from members of the APC. The issue I want to amplify here is to demonstrate, is to show, is to tell our viewers how the APC and its supporters in the state have been so law-abiding. Okay. Now, coming back to the issue of writing letter, the letter the former governor wrote to the current governor about his pension, let me first of all say that within the premises of law, the letter is never wrong. Within the law. Because there are several former governors. There are no less than 500 former governors in Nigeria. And there is no single former governor in any state of the Federation that is not receiving that upkeep allowances.
Students of the Department of Technical Education, Shehu Shagari College of Education, Sokoto, have won first position at the just concluded 2019 edition of Budding Engineers, Scientists and Technologists competition. The competition was organized by the Department of Tertiary Education of the Federal Ministry of Education. The college representatives emerged winners of the 2019 Scientific Olympiad after a scientific discovery of the newly invented locally made electrical stabilizer, energy power storage bank, hand tool screwdriver, and electronic accessory using local content. Meanwhile, the management of the institution, led by its provost, Dr. Mohammed Wadata Hakimi, on Thursday presented the awards to the Commissioner for Higher Education, Professor Bashir Garba, represented by the Permanent Secretary, Pharmacist Al-Mustafa Uthman Ali. Receiving the award, the Commissioner for Higher Education, Professor Bashir Garba, commended the efforts of the student in uplifting the name of the college and making the state proud. This outstanding performance by the state representatives at the Olympiad has clearly confirmed the giant strides made by Sokoto State government under the leadership of Governor Aminu Waziri Tambuwal in boosting vocational and technical education in Sokoto State.
The Nigerian Senate on Thursday passed the 2020 budget following presentation of a report by the chairman of the Senate Committee on Appropriation, Honorable Barau Jibril. The budget was increased from 10.33 trillion as presented by President Muhammad Buhari on October 8 to 10.6 trillion. While the Senate maintained Nigeria's daily oil production rate at 2.18 million per barrel, it however increased the oil benchmark to $57 per barrel against the $55 proposed by the executive. The committee retained the inflation rate at 10.81% and the exchange rate at 305 naira to $1 as proposed by the executive. It also retained GDP growth rate at 2.93% as proposed. Mr. Jibril said the committee worked harmoniously with the executive for the processing of the bill. Mr. Jibril explained that the increase allows for intervention in critical areas like security, infrastructures, mine and steel development, social development, among others. This, he said, is in line with the budget thrust of the government, which is focused on growing development and sustainable growth. He also said the committee adopted the 2020 to 2022 medium-term expenditure frameworks and the fiscal strategy paper as approved by the National Assembly. The Senate President Ahmad Lawan, while admonishing the executive on full and effective implementation of the budget, thanked his colleagues and executive for their cooperation.
Convener of Revolution Now protest Omoyole Sowore has been released. A federal high court in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, earlier on Thursday gave a 24-hour ultimatum for Mr. Sowore to be released by the DSS, who have detained him since the 3rd of August 2019. Sowores take the Revolution Now protests in major cities across the country, demanding from the government better welfare and justice for Nigeria.
The report ABU Modu chronicles events that led to the dismissal of 70 staffs of the National Examination Council (NECO). National Examination Council is the only solely owned examination body charged with the conduct of general examination at both junior and senior secondary school levels in Nigeria. NECO was established to break the monopoly of West African examination (WAEC) and give prospective candidates choice, because until NECO was established, Nigeria was one of the few countries without a national examination body other than WAEC, which is a regional institution. It was in view of these developments that the former National Board of Educational Measurements, with headquarters in Minna, under Professor Dibu Ojerinde, was transformed to NECO, and Ojerinde was made the registrar. Since the establishment of the examination body, progress has been made in the council in terms of cumulative evaluation of the purpose for which the body was set up, but followers of events in this council will attest to the fact that the recruitment process had been either lopsided or not made open, just like most federal agencies over time in Nigeria. It did not therefore come as a surprise when 2 weeks ago the management of NECO announced the dismissal of 70 staffs for alleged certificate forgery. It was learned that some staff possessed certificates which they refused to present the original copies after many years. Others were employed as graduates, whereas their certificates reached dates of several years after their employment. Sources in the council hinted leadership Sunday that the governing board of the council and management, after thorough investigation, decided to take the gauntlet to look into some of the cases and clear the mess. It was further gathered that senior officers, including the assistant director and those recently promoted, were among those dismissed, even as investigation was still ongoing to discover other members of staff suspected to have forged their certificates. The council's head of information, Aziz Sanni, announced the dismissal of the affected staff in a statement, stressing that the action of the management was sequel to a report submitted by a management committee constituted to verify certificate of staff. The Certificate Verification Committee carried out its assignment diligently by inviting all staff with questionable credentials to appear before it, during which some staff actually attested that their certificates were fake.
We'll be right back after this short commercial break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. On Business, Jemima Samuel has more detail.
Thank you, Musa Joy. Welcome to Business Desk. The Senate on Wednesday called for a steady supply of petroleum products through the identified suppliers and registered filling stations across all Nigeria border towns and communities as a temporary palliative measure. This was part of the resolution reached by the Senate following a motion by Senator Tolutope Adebiyi, representing Ogun West, on the need to revisit the suspension order placed on the supply of petroleum products to border towns by the Controller General of Nigerian Customs Service. The Nigerian Customs Service last week issued a directive suspending supply of petroleum products to fuel stations within 20 kilometers of Nigerian border as a measure to check smuggling of the products. The Senate resolved to engage the Controller General of Nigerian Customs Service (NCS) to work out a valuable policy framework to mitigate the suffering of communities along the nation's border due to suspension of petroleum supply to the areas. The Senate Committee on Custom was directed by the Senate to summon the custom boss for the interaction. It also called on the NCS, the Nigeria Customs Service Controller General, to urgently explore the use of modern technological devices in tracking, management and scheduling of petroleum trucks that undertake business along the border towns. And that's all we can take on Business Desk today. I am Jemima Samuel. Over to Musa Joy.
Thank you, Jemima. And on the international scene, President Muhammadu Buhari on Thursday in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, said climate change is steadily taking a toll on income of families as farmlands get narrowed with desert encroachments, while the vagaries of the weather pose greater risk for the future. Receiving letter of credence of the High Commissioner of Australia to Nigeria, Mrs. Claire Ireland, President Buhari said the global attention on taming the effect of climate change was important, noting that population had been on the increase in Nigeria and lands for investment and farming have turned more competitive. He said before now 10 to 15 members of a family could own a land, but the desert encroachment and growth in population has created a situation where you can have 200 people struggling over a family land. The president said the effect of climate change on Lake Chad had created more economic challenges, with the shrinking lake rendering many jobless and leaving them with little or no options for survival except crime. In her remarks, the High Commissioner said Australia had maintained consistent economic growth for 29 years, scoring a record of development indicators that many countries had not been able to attain. Mrs. Ireland said the growth had been largely driven by investment and diversification in the mining sector, assuring the President that stronger partnerships would be explored for Nigerians' potentials in minerals, education and agriculture. President Buhari, who also received letter of credence of the Ambassador of Sweden, Mr. Claire Michael, said Nigeria remains grateful for the strong partnership it had enjoyed over the years, urging the diplomat to use his state to improve trade relations. The Swedish ambassador assured the president that he will work hard to deepen security and economic relations, pointing out that there are many opportunities for cooperation, including trade and investment. Receiving the letter of credence of the ambassador of Zimbabwe to Nigeria, Mr. Maxwell Ranga, President Muhammadu Buhari said Nigeria had enjoyed long years of cooperation from Zimbabwe, adding that the country had also been playing a major role in Africa. Mr. Ranga says Zimbabwe appreciates Nigeria's support during the country's struggle for independence. He said Zimbabwe's President Emerson tasked him to take this relationship between the two countries to greater heights. Ambassador Ranga explained that his mandate was to improve trade and economic relations between the two countries. That has been the news from Standard Voice Television. To end the news, a quick look at the major headlines. Governor Matawale swears in members of the State Executive Council. The Zamfara State Council of Chiefs kicks against the redeployment of the State Commissioner of Police CP Usman Nagugu. Senate passes 2020 budget on business. Senate wants fuel supply back to filling stations at Nigerian border town. On the international scene, President Buhari says his administration is preparing for more challenges from desert encroachment. All these and other stories of the SVTV can be viewed via our social media platform. That has been the news from Standard Voice Television. On behalf of
Samira Ibrahim, keep watching Standard Voice Television News.
I still remain Musa Joy Onyoda, wishing you a pleasant weekend.